And where do I start at? Start. Okay, basically let's go through the process. First thing I want to do is open a file. And cancel wrong screen. All right, open a file here. And we're going into Genesis 44. And a lot of work's already been done. I'm not even going to go there. I'm going to delete some old work files first. And we're going to open up one previous work file and the current file that we want to process. Okay. We need the verse markers from this previous work file. So we're going to export those into the current directory. Done that. And so we're done with that work file. We now want to import the work file that we worked with earlier, the markers, and we want to verify that they are in fact aligned properly. And we can see that these are not, so I need to basically get rid of some space here. It looks like I need to get rid of 0.343 seconds off of this. So we remove these, go back and pick up 0.343. Let's go with that first. And we'll import that marker file. And we can see that it's pretty close, and that's actually acceptable. Let's see what we've got there. We just go through and look at these all the way through, and we see this one's a little out of alignment. We can deal with that. This one's a little out of alignment. This has to do with the various vendors, how they did their work. These actually came from two separate vendor work files or audio files, so the markers are not going to be perfectly aligned regardless of what you do, in both files. So we're basically taking the lesser of two evils, trying to make it work. And as you'll notice in here, we also have a lot of clicks in here we want to take care of. We'll take care of that. And this one's a little bit out of line. That's actually a breath sound right there we're going to pull out. I don't know, the audio may not have picked that up. That may be a breath sound. It is. Don't worry about that. This one's way out of alignment here. It shows you that vendors are not consistent in where and how they compress the audio or change the audio speed. They may choose just a few verses and change the audio speed for those. That throws off the alignment for other works. Okay, and this one's way off. As you can see, it's way off track. And that actually shows that now, because of that one being off, these others are off. And I'm not going to try to make everything close to match. We're just going to go through and fix each one. They're tiered to the end of the file. Expand that a little bit so you can see what we're looking at. So we're just putting, these are for the breaks for the verse part of the verse exports, not for the chapter files. This has nothing to do with the chapter files. They will contain all pauses and breaks according to Mr. Scorby's readings. The verse files, we'll try to strip out as much of this dead space as we can, so that when you're listening on a mobile device, that they will sound, smooth reading between verses. Continue that. And here, this takes a few minutes. This is the longest part of it, is basically adjusting these. We've already set up some filters on previous work that adjusted the volume and the frequency, treble and bass, so the file will sound like we want it to in the final product. That work was additional in addition to what we're doing right now. And maybe when I get into Chronicles, I can do a full video of start to finish, exactly what it takes to remaster these things. Alright, now we've got the verses taken care of. First, now we're going to take care of the clicks. Using this guy, I'm going to take care of all the clicks. I've already set up some parameters. Oops, that did not work like I wanted it. Sorry about that. I want to make sure that I have both channels selected there. Rerun the process. That takes about 15-20 seconds. It'd run a little bit faster if I were running this directly on the MacBook. I'm actually processing these files on the external drive simply because it has more disk space. These work files take up a gig to 2 gig of disk space just for one file. Now I'm going to do the work with the noises. There are 3 levels of noise that I look at the end of the file. I run that noise pattern. As you can see, that it is basically between on the left-hand side of this diagram, from 0 to around 1 kHz in frequency. I'll process those out, and you notice this line of noise will get thinner. When we scroll to the left, we'll pick up some dead space between verses. Perhaps this one. I will run the noise pattern. I see there's noise in there. I know there's noise in there. I can see it. I can crank up the volume and check it, prove it, but basically I know there's noise there. And then we'll get to the beginning of the file, and where he says the chapter name, and that dead space between there is a noise pattern. I'll pick up that. And page that as well. It actually goes to the entire file and make those changes. At this point, we can export this work file. So we can reopen. New. And export the WAV file. Somebody who wants that, which somebody will. So we're going to master WAV file that's been cleaned up. And we'll export the verse files. And we can do that. Now that WAV file we exported is used in the next step. In this step, I have a process, multiple processes that I run. And I'm going to process in a script which will basically process the WAV file to create some of the file outputs. Then we'll create this iTunes compatible file, 1.3 meg. It'll create a higher quality version of that file. It'll create the MP3 file that will go into the chapter downloads. It'll create this, it will use this master WAV file to work with this. We'll process the file we just opened, that will be untouched. And then it creates verse files in the MP4 format for iTunes and other devices like that, as well as verse files in MP3. So we're going to run that process. And as you can see, it's just running through the steps that I've told it to do. Working on the chapter file to create the MP3 file now. Now it's creating the verse files.
Chapter 44.
And then it opens it on iTunes.
And he commanded the steward of his house, saying, Fill the men's sacks with food as much as they can carry, and put every man's money in